Welcome back, Broken Systems, with your host. You guessed it, Lauren. Um, so I put a video out there earlier about what video I was gonna put out next. So I feel like it's important for people to know where I come from and like a little bit about my story. Um, like why I have such strong feelings about this type of topic. Um, how being an addict led me to be incarcerated. How I, got sober and, relapsed and then got sober again. My journey into spirituality. So hopefully it's good. Hopefully it'll like open up to some new followers. I don't know. I've decided about my other one that I recorded about my friend who just got out of Lawrenceville. I'm gonna try that app, Harvey, at Harvey Talks Prison. I'm gonna try the app you recommended. I'm gonna see what I can do with that. If it doesn't work, then I'm just gonna give up on the whole interview thing. And I honestly, maybe if it doesn't work, like maybe you could interview him and it'll work on your end if you're better. I mean, because you know how to edit things better than I do. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing. TikTok is like easy as shit because, like I said, you could like pick different like effects and all that kind of stuff. And it's like YouTube is just, it's really difficult to do it. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not savage enough in like YouTube, but we'll see. I've got one more trick on my sleeve, plus whatever this all called reader thing is. But okay, I'll put some little cool like captions. I figured out how to do like sentences and spell things out on here, but we'll see what happens. I'm gonna try to keep it at 30 minutes. It's probably gonna go over, probably longer. I don't know, but 30 minutes is like what I'm aiming for. All right. First and foremost, there's trigger warnings in this. I'm gonna go ahead and say that now. If it's triggering, keep scrolling. But I get it if it is too triggering. I get it. So just be mindful of the whole situation. So, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. I was adopted at birth. Luckily for me, I didn't have to go through the foster care system, but I have my own issues with my adoption that pretty much messed me up my entire life, and to this day it still does, which will probably be a huge thing you'll notice in my story. A lot of things to add back to my adoption. So, I'm the middle child I had an older brother and a younger sister. Unfortunately, my brother passed away 3 years ago. So, but my adopted parents, those are their biological children. And, growing up, I always felt like I was different. And like constantly I was trying to compete for my parents' attention. And then I found out, long story short, I found out at 13 that I was adopted by accident. I found my birth certificate. I was very angry because like it was a pivotal moment in my life and I didn't know what the fuck to do. My assumptions were right. I was different from everybody else, and like and then to find this out and to have pretty much my entire life a lie, it really made me upset. I smoked weed at age 12 for the first time with my brother, and I remember my parents were home. It was on 420, and we smoked a joint or something along those lines, and I was super super smacked. And I went upstairs, and I heard my mom coming down the driveway, so I like opened my math book to make it look like I had been doing like my homework, but I was so effing like up in the clouds that like she opened the door and my math book was like upside down. I wasn't even reading it like right side up. But she didn't find out that day. She just kind of left me. I was like, man, I'm tired. So she, if she, whether she knew or not, if I was high that day is one thing. I don't know. Remains to be seen. So, I had a very hard time fitting in high school, middle school, and I was friends with pretty much the same two sisters my whole life, and I don't know, 7th grade hit, and she went one way and I went another way, and she was totally a mean bitch. Her and her friends are the reason I became an anorexic in 8th grade. Because believe it or not, women can be fucking awfully mean to each other, like awful. So I threw myself into sports. I excelled in horseback riding, national titles, world titles, had my horses, all the whole 9 yards. It was like the one thing I excelled at, and like that's where my empathy comes from. Like not just with the humans, but me and horses have an understanding. I understand them and their emotions, and they understand me, like 100%. I know better now that I know what like empath is, and like with my spiritual journey and how it took me, or where it took me. So like in 7th, 8th grade, I found that the people that were smoking joints, the rebel kids, accepted me, or what I thought at that time was acceptance. So if you want to be technical with it, the first time I ever did heroin, I was 14 and a half, and I snorted it. I put a needle in my arm at 15. Never smoked it. But, yeah. I put a needle in my arm at 15, and, I had been doing drugs up to that point anyway, but, like as far as, like, doing it intravenously, that was the first time I had ever done it intravenously. When I did it, I immediately felt the way I wanted to feel. Being an empath myself and feeling my own fucking emotions on top of feeling other people's emotions, it got very, it's a double-edged sword. It hurts, it gets very tiring, because instead of being like, I hate feeling my own emotions, and then you add other people's emotions on top of it, it's just really hard. It drains you so bad, it sucks. But it's also a gift in a good way, because like, being empathic is great, I love it, but I don't at the same time. So when I did dope for the first time, I didn't have to feel. I didn't feel anything, and that was like, oh my god, I had found it. I'm like, this is what I've been waiting my whole life for. Like, I was just numb to everything, and that's how I wanted to feel. I didn't want to feel emotions or anything like that, and I struggled growing up. Like, I mean, I have trauma from being adopted, and just more trauma added on down the line. The ironic part is like, I know that my birth mom was a heroin addict. When she had me, she was doing dope, and I was born addicted to heroin. So that's where my addiction side comes from. I don't know who my dad is, but for being a junkie myself and being a heroin addict 15, like I can figure out why I don't know where my dad is. I got high in Baltimore. That's where she's from. That's where I'm from. Like, I mean, sometimes I'd wonder, like, when I would be like homeless in Baltimore, like getting high, I'd be like, I wonder if I ever came across her or some shit like that. Because like, it's frustrating because I don't know where the fuck I come from. Like, I don't know my origin. I don't know all of that shit, because my records are sealed and I can't even get them, and they're my own damn records for being closed adoption. So it's like, it's damned if I do, damned if I don't. So that's really, like, it fucked with me my whole life growing up. It really did. Well, I acted out and rebelled because of it. My first interaction with the police was in kindergarten. I pulled the fire alarm. Yep. This first interaction I ever had. I got suspended in kindergarten. Funny story leading up into this too. My first dude I dated in prison, you know how I said I knew him since kindergarten? That is a very true statement, because that same year in kindergarten, I gave him 7 stitches across his forehead when I pushed him off a slide. Because he poked me and wouldn't stop. So this is how me and my first man that was incarcerated. That's how we met. Well, it's a funny story. It's just really funny how that all happened. So yeah, I hid my addiction really good, to the point where my parents and nobody knew I was getting high and using the needle until 2009, when I got arrested for the first time. Yep. About 2021. And I got arrested for possession of a Schedule 1 ounce, or just under an ounce of heroin, possession of paraphernalia. I'm not going to get into that story because it was fucked up. story of how it happened. Let's just say that like it's bullshit, but whatever. So calling my mom from jail the first time at 3 in the morning, that was a wrap, because I knew then they were gonna know, and they found out what, you know, it was a big issue. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't know you were doing this, da 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 da. Which just goes to show you, you could be an addict, and you could be a functioning alcoholic, a functioning addict. I did it from age 15 till 19. I mean, until 2009. Faithfully, didn't get fucked. You know what I'm saying? Didn't have a problem. I didn't look like a junkie. It wasn't, you know, none of that. But it gets to that point where you can't do that anymore. And then, like, look, I got in trouble. That's how they found out. So anyway, I went to rehab. The charges kind of went away. Because I went to an out-of-state rehab, and it was in Arizona, which is where my love for Arizona. Well, I take it back. I went to Arizona a time before that to work on a big Arabian horse show horse farm that bred $1 million show horses. But Gatehouse was my second. Arizona by rehab. It was a great rehab. It saved my life. It was a 2-year program. Yeah. I learned how to be sober, and I learned how to live a normal life. So my sobriety date, my first sobriety date was, ironically speaking, New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2009. I know this because I went into detox that night, and I had Wu-Tang tickets to toast with Wu-Tang at 12 o'clock midnight in DC. I had to give that ticket away because I went into fucking detox the same day. Pretty cool New Year's resolution because I held it for 6 years. Anyway, so when I finished Gatehouse, I wanted to come back home. To this day, I regret that decision so much, because like I know that if I had stayed in Arizona, I would have excelled. I wouldn't have gone into any of that. Nothing would have happened that's happened. I would have like 17 years sober now, not 6 again. So, yeah, I came home, very quickly got into a relationship with this narcissistic dude I put away. Which is what I also forgot to add. I've also been that person that has put somebody in prison. And here's why. The first 2 years of me and this dude's relationship were amazing. Wouldn't have traded for the world. And then by the 3rd year, I don't know, 360, he went completely fucking nuts. Which now come to find out, I know that there's like 5 stages of narcissism, and it took him 3 years to get my weakness. And once he found my weakness, he preyed on that, and that's where he got me 100% on mind control and stuff like that. It turned into him beating the shit out of me every day, multiple times a day. Like, it was like, did not matter if I did something right, I got my ass whooped. God forbid I come home, the fucking house or the bedroom's dirty, you know. Wouldn't let me go out. This was in my own house, mind you. We lived in my parents' basement, and they had no idea this was going on either until everything happened. So it was like constantly, and the crazy part is like I stayed sober. Like, I might have smoked a little bit of weed, but that's it. But I didn't do no drugs. I didn't relapse after he beat the shit out of me. Like, I never touched dope. I wasn't really working a program because I couldn't really go anywhere. But, like, I still had faith in my spirituality. Which is why it makes it so difficult why I did relapse. And I can't comprehend really why I relapsed. But anyway, one night, the night in question, I was getting my face pounded into concrete sidewalk over a smudge on a glass cup. Thank God somebody was walking their dog down the street when this happened, because if that guy had not been there at the right time walking his dog, I would not be here today. They've told me that. They said, like, I don't know if it was my universal gods coming at me and doing it, but, like, I mean, it was fucking nuts. all over a smudge, like a thumbprint on a glass cup. That's what he was trying to kill me over. Something that small. Anyway, I didn't want to put him in jail. In fact, I didn't want to press charges on him. The state pressed charges on him. Like I said, I don't really remember too much of that night, but like I had to go and testify because obviously he took it to trial. I went to trial. We broke up in 2016. Well, the beginning of 2016, towards the middle of his when we went to court, and then on April 1st or 2nd, I can't remember. 1st or 2nd was the day they took him away. No, it wasn't April the 1st. It was like March. It was like March. I have to look at, wow, I can't even remember. I'm forgetting this. Like March 29th and March 28th. I gotta look at the paperwork. It's March 28th, I'm pretty sure. Because my sobriety date is April 18th. Yeah, he fucked me up because of that. It's already fucked up anyway, but still, it fucked me up. The day they took him away and he got sentenced, I left court and 2 hours later I had a needle in my arm. I had thrown 6 years away. Just like that. Just like that. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why. To this day, I still don't know why. I feel like I'm going to be wondering that the rest of my life. Like I said, a very short relapse. Within a month, half of a month. Like I said, April 18th, 2016 was the day I got arrested for my DUI, and that was the last charge I got. And that was the day of my sobriety date. I managed to catch 4 felonies in 4 different counties within that few weeks of being relapsing. By the 3rd day, I had a $600 day dope habit again. It got worse. The second time I relapsed. Well, the first time I relapsed. The second to get sober. I mean, it was, like I said, it was a quick relapse, but like I fell harder this time than I did the first time. I was facing some prison time. My first time ever, like I was facing some prison time. I'm not gonna lie, they were trying to give me 15 years for half a point of heroin. My first felony charge that I got caught. I went to rehab after it happened, and they still came after me with the warrant. But that's whatever. Leading up, I'm not gonna get into all the court shit because we're already at 18 minutes. But so I went through a lot of court shit. I managed to catch two scheduled possession of Schedule 1-2 drugs in 2 different counties of heroin, both heroin. Possession of needles in both counties, yeah. And the third one was possession of the Schedule 1-2 cocaine because of cottons. And then they gave me another Schedule 1 because of heroin cotton. So they gave me 2 new felonies off the cottons. So that was 4 felonies right there. And so I knew I was going to jail for a long time, so I just went on run after that and put the nail in the coffin. I got pulled over for my DUI. I'd been up for 6 days speedballing, and I hit a street sign. I wasn't even going the right way to my house. And that cop, I'm scared to show the cops. I hate cops. They gave me PTSD, but this cop was doing his job this night, and like I was an asshole to him. I'll get to that because 2 years or like a year and a half after I got sober, this last go around, I went and apologized to him for the way I acted that night because he was doing his job, and I should never have been on that road, and I know that. And I thank God every day of my life that I woke up in a jail cell and I did not kill myself or somebody else, because I don't think I could live if that happened. And since that day, I've never gotten behind the wheel of a car fucked up again since. So, nobody bailed me out. $100 misdemeanor DUI bond. I did 20 days in jail. I had to do a cold turkey. And I told you about how they treated me in jail. I'm not going to get into this because the people that have seen the first video, I'm not going to go through that again. But I was treated very inhumanely and very, 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 it was not a good experience. And And that's where also it really became an issue with me with the justice system and how they treated me. So long and the short of it is, all the counties came to an agreement. I applied for my 251, which is the first drug charge you ever get. And all the judges ran the sentences concurrent, and they said if I stayed 5 years clean off heroin, I would get all my felonies dropped, and I would just have the misdemeanor possession of paraphernalia. Here's somebody that's never been in trouble, who's now gone from never being in trouble to having 4 felonies, a misdemeanor DUI, and on probation, felony probation for 5 years. Meaning, if I didn't complete the probation in 5 years, I'd be going to prison for at least 10. So I worked my ass off. I talk about reform and stuff. Jail saved my life. Not because of how jail treated me or how their programs were. Jail saved my life because of my addiction and how I did not want to ever go through that and experience that again. Or experience that level of inhumanity that people have towards another human being. So not because the jail had programs or anything like that. It was my own addiction that did it. So, yep. But I didn't get bailed out of jail. My parents bailed me out after they found a rehab for me to go to. I wasn't very elected to go to treatment because I didn't want to. But by the time the 20th day hit, I had pretty much gone through the worst. The worst of the dope sickness was gone. They let me shower, finally. So by the time I went to rehab, I had nothing in my system. Nothing. And then the conditions were that this treatment center, with all my judges and all the counties, said I had to follow exactly what it was called the Phoenix House told me to do. If they recommended in-house treatment, I had to go inpatient treatment. After inpatient treatment, they wanted me to do PHP, which is partial hospitalization program. I did that. And after that, I had to complete that. I couldn't fuck up in that or I'd go to jail. And then after that, it was intensive outpatient. I had to follow everything they wanted me to do in this. And then intensive, like IP, like intensive patient, like as in step down programs and all that kind of shit. I did it. I caught a couple new charges, but they all got dropped to disorderly conducts because everything was justified and I was in the right and they were the wrong. And I failed 2 times in Fairfax for popping dirty for cocaine, but never heroin. If you remember, I told you from the beginning that the judge said if I stayed off heroin for 5 years, they'd let me off my felonies. Well, yeah, I tested positive for coke, but the judge still kept his word and let me off. And I think a lot of it had to do with because within that time I had lost my brother to alcohol. He died. That's where I met the love of my life, Michael, who tragically took his life a year after my brother passed away. I was with him for 5 years. I met him in rehab, so this is where this is going, because now we're at 23 minutes. Shit. Okay, wrapping forward this. Me and Mike got together in rehab. We were together for 5 years, and like, you know, I mean, he was the best friend of my life. He is the first dude to ever teach me or was different. Tony was mentally, physically, and emotionally abusive to me. Michael would never hit me, but he was definitely mentally and emotionally abusive when he would drink. So when he started drinking, it got worse, and I was just pretty much being his mom and taking care of him, and I got tired of it, so I left. I managed to have... When my brother passed away, I thought he would stop drinking, but he didn't. Then a year later, he passed away on June 8th, 2020. I had left. I was in South Carolina. I found out 2 weeks after he passed away that he shot himself with a 12-gauge shotgun. He has severe mental health issues too, but like, you know, he's in a better place. I'm trying to get past, move forward. I have managed to stay sober through all of that bipolarness, and I had a little slip up when Mike passed away and I went back to my house, my hometown, to get my shit. I slipped a little bit on past salts, but I never did dope or anything like that. It's not an excuse, whatever you want to call it. But so anyway, leads it up to me making my new life in South Carolina. 24 minutes, okay. Regards to prison reform, with that guy Anthony, who I dated for 4 years in prison, relationship wise. And then it leads me up to this. I started to wonder why privately owned prisons came into play. Like, I know that all my friends have been arrested, and I've been arrested before, so I've seen it, you know what I'm saying? I don't know where, like, I guess the way Anthony was treated in a DOC prison, which was Indian Creek. I mean, it was the best prison he could have gone to, but like there's still problems in DOC too. But like then it just all came up to like, I had another really good friend who was in a privately run prison it was awful. Well, actually, he's in the feds still. To this day, he's still in the feds. But yeah, he's been to a couple of federal privately owned prisons. I don't talk about him that much. You won't ever hear me say his name or anything like that. But I've known him for a really long time. I don't keep in contact with him like that. There's no occasion. Every now and then. Which is crazy because nobody knows that. I just told the entire YouTube community about that. It's crazy to me. Anyway. I'm just... Maybe it has to be me being an empath. But I see the good in almost everybody. Like I say, don't get me wrong, there are people that deserve to be in prison and have done heinous fucking crimes and deserve to be in prison. They do not deserve to be able to walk out on the free earth again, ever again. They need to be there for the rest of their lives. Not everybody that goes to prison is that way. People just fuck up if they do dumb shit. Look at me. I mean, I didn't kill nobody. I didn't rob nobody. I didn't, arm rob anybody. Not saying that all armed robberies are bad or whatever, you know what I'm saying. But like, I literally would get high in my car or at my house by myself. I would not, so like in my mind, I feel like I didn't break the law, but I did break the law because I was getting high on drugs. Was it like living a somewhat normal life? Yeah, it sucks every now and then. I look at my paycheck every 2 weeks and I'm like, damn, I could have made that in like less than a 2-hour period if I was doing things illegal. But I also moved out of the state where I got in trouble all the time, where all the police know me, to a state where nobody knew me, so it was like a start over. Now granted, you could go any place, your problems will still follow you, and you can get high anywhere you go. If you want to get high bad enough, you'll find it. Doesn't matter if you move. But for me, if I had stayed in Virginia after Mike had done what he'd done, I would have relapsed on heroin by now. I wholeheartedly know that I cannot do heroin because there is no jail, there's no prison, there's no more rehab. I will die. And I'm headed to the penitentiary. If I don't die, that's where I'm headed next, is the penitentiary. And I've skipped the penitentiary altogether thus far, and I don't really want to go. As opposed to, I see where the justice system is wrong and failed is that there's just no outlets in prison. There's no reform. And when you break it down, it comes down to money. No regard for human life. Like, even though you broke the law, it doesn't mean that it gives the person that's supposed to be watching you right to break the law, be a monster like they are. Some CEOs are good. Some CEOs are really shitty and should be locked up. And probably need to be locked up more than half the people that are locked up in our country right now. If there was reform and you all did your jobs, we wouldn't have a fucking reoffending rate so high. It's unbelievable to me how high this offender rate is. That within 6 months to a year, if you've done 5 years or more in prison, the chances of you going back to prison and reoffending are so effing high. And that's what I worry about with Ohio getting out, not having the resources. That's what I worry about when Joey gets out. Joey's a prime example of why the system failed so miserably. There needs to be more mental health awareness. This whole privately run prison shit needs to be exposed more than it's being exposed. Now, I don't know with the way the world's going and everything that's happened since COVID and rights and shit been taken away. I don't know where we're going to be at in 5 years or even next year. Who knows? But, like I said, in my treatment centers, counselors said the same thing. If I can change one life with my story or my knowledge on the penitentiary, if I save just one person, I've done my job. If I can just reach one, hell, if we could all just reach one, we're doing it. I hope that it does change. You know, I've gotten some comments of like, well, what are you going to do when your dude gets out? I'm still going to promote content of this because I'm still passionate about it. And I'll continue to keep posting stuff like this because until it changes or until I die, one of the two. With that being said, this video was 31 minutes. I hope y'all watch it. I really am compassionate. I'm really like trying to make a difference, and like I hope I've met some cool people on here that I consider a different family. You know, and I generally want to thank, like, really honestly, in the greatest of things, like Harvey from Harvey Talks Prison. Like, I can't reiterate this enough. Like, you found me on TikTok and like thought I had something once again, and like you pushed me to actually do my YouTube channel on it, and like I don't know, I thank you so much. I mean, am I like, granted that I haven't blown up immediately? Yeah, I'm kind of salty about that, but like, you know what I'm saying, it took me a minute on TikTok to do it as well. But I just thank you for like believing in me and like setting that forward, because like you pushed me to do it and I did it, and I stepped out of my comfort zone and got on another platform and did totally different content than I do on TikTok. And it's new as raw. It's like my anxiety is through the damn roof, like for real. I will say that I do smoke magical tobacco. That's it though. And cigarettes. So I told you all I was going to try to bring tarot cards into it. Do like a little quote at the end, or like, you know, do a card. Well, I have messages from your spirit guide or spirit animal in deck. Everybody has a spirit animal. I have a couple. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool cards. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I hope you all like it. Clarity. If this resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't, leave it for somebody else. It's one of my favorite decks. I was going to do a tarot deck, but this one just seemed better. So, please, if you guys are new, hit that subscribe button. Please, I have 24 followers. I need 50 to go live. I know as soon as I can go live, I think my following will grow. That's how I did on TikTok, at least. All right, one more time. All right. Let's see here. You guys really need to know. Good animal. Ooh. All right. Got a few. All right, let's see if we name one. All right, so we got 3. The first one that came out was email. Caption says, "This is a good time to go on a new adventure." Well, I know it speaks volumes to me because this YouTube thing is a new adventure for me. It's a new adventure for you guys too as well. I'm sure, like, you know, being on a social media platform like YouTube, TikTok, any of these kind of major platforms is a new adventure. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. It's also email. They're very intelligent. They're part of, and you would understand, guess this, that like they're a dinosaur. They're a bird, more represented towards a raptor. than anything. Kind of like they're mean suckers too, though. They can be mean as mean. But going on a new adventure. I can't wait to see what this new adventure brings, and as if it brings any new adventures to you, like I hope it does, and I hope you do have a great time and get what you want to get off of YouTube. So email. If you're interested, you could look it up even more and see what emu spirituality and all that kind of stuff is. The panda. Create a sacred space for yourself in your home and or place of work. This card comes down. It's most importantly to make sure that you remember that even though you do this kind of content or any content, that like you take time for yourself. And remember that like, yes, putting videos out is educational and doing what we do is educational, but don't let it consume you, and make sure that you're taking time for yourself. Put away the making videos for a day or a while. Just have your like you time, or have a space where you can go where it's just you and your thoughts, and do what you have to do. Pandas are very spiritual. They're also very big on abundance and prosperity. In China, what are they? I mean, they're worshipped. They're royalty in China. They're very smart individually in animals. So yeah, this is like me, like my altar, like this spot right here, my garage. This is my spot. This is a sacred spot for me. I feel like when I'm here, nobody can really, mess with me at all. Especially in my room when I'm praying with my deity, Bastet, the Egyptian goddess of protection and motherhood and protection. That's my sacred spot. Like you can't mess with me there. That's where I feel like with myself and feel my own self. It's a great thing. Spirituality. Now, like, granted, like I said, I'm not a religious person. I don't, if religion works for you, great. I'm all for it. Just don't put it on me. I have my own way of looking at things. That's how I feel about it. Walrus. Cool. Look at this. Got pretty cool messages. Remain vigilant about the current situations. Pay attention to the signs and omens and let them dictate your choices. Pay attention intuitively. Listen to your intuition. Walruses are also very intelligent water and land creatures. Remain vigilant about the current situation. Pay attention to signs and omens. Pay attention to, if you're intuitive and your gut tells you not to do something, listen to your gut, because it's never wrong. Your intuition is never wrong. Usually when I don't listen to my gut feeling, I end up going to jail. Honest to God, true, 100%. Put that on the universe, that anytime that happens, I go to jail. Like, no bullshit. I'm not even kidding. And to lessons that it teaches you. We want to get technical with it. We got this. There's a new adventure. This new adventure. Go with it. Run with it. Making sure that making sure that you have time and space time out for yourself. Make sure that you have some time to focus on you, because that's critical in mental and spiritual. And be very diligent and vigilant of change. Just because it looks good doesn't mean it is good. Intuition. Listen to your intuition. And I'm going to leave this finally out with this. If I could go back to my 6-year-old self and tell them one thing, what would I tell them? My 6-year-old self. And it's a question for y'all to think about. What would you say to your... Well, we're not even say 6. What would you say to your 12-year-old self? This time, knowing now what you know now. It's not cool to go to prison. It's not cool to go to jail. It's not a badge of honor to go to jail, even though people think it is, where you come from. It's not. I would tell myself, stay in school, don't do drugs, be a leader, don't be a follower, and that it's okay. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to do everything everybody else does. You don't have to do anything for anybody. Just be yourself. Don't put on a facade to make yourself seem different than you are, because you're okay just the way you are. And lastly, to everybody that's getting out of prison, to anybody that's going into prison, or to anybody that's been out for a really long time, just know that you can change if you want to change. You don't have to be a statistic. Hopefully they put better programs into use, and hopefully something does different. But follow your intuition, follow your gut, and whoever it is that you pray to or reach out to or talk to, like, maybe just hold that. I say this: there's always somebody going through something worse than you are, and that's facts. I think about that a lot when I feel like the world is like, damn, there's somebody out there that's suffering way more than I am right now. And I hope nothing and wish nothing but the best for everybody to come out of this, or to come out a different person, changed. Don't be the reason the system's failing. Make a difference if you can. And lastly, I want to thank, once again, Harvey with Harvey Talks Prison, my subscribers, end mass incarceration, end privately run prisons for profit, modern day slavery, end corrupt places, put the people that are making profits off people suffering and selling bodies to the highest bidder, should be in prison with life in prison. They should never be able to get out. And then they should be able to be treated the same way they treated another human being in their own prison, and actually see from their point of view what inmates see in your shitholes of prisons. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it didn't scare anybody off. I know this video is long as 41 minutes, but you can hear me. Alright, I'm kind of scared to put this out there, but I'm going to do it, okay? Thank you all once again for listening. Like, hit subscribe, that button. Reach out to me if you ever want a reading done. I'm glad I found this community and I found this family on YouTube. Hopefully I can add more people to it. Thanks again. I'll talk to y'all later. Broken system out. I won't put broken system up here like that. Love you guys.